Scrum Masters Elite_UK greets you, a place to share profound lessons from sports and life. Subscribe to the channel to reflect and grow every day.
The case of a key Springboks player, Asenathi Ntlabakanye, is not merely an issue related to a doping test, but a deeply revealing slice of elite sports, performance pressure, professional ethics, and how people confront adversity. When reading and reflecting on the entire situation, I do not see it as a standalone sports news story, but as a multidimensional lesson, where every detail raises larger questions about fairness, personal responsibility, and how communities respond to unresolved suspicions. First of all, what makes me think the most is the in-between state of truth. An athlete tests positive for a banned substance, in this case anastrozole, yet that substance does not directly enhance performance. At the same time, he admitted to using DHEA, a substance that can improve performance. These two elements, placed side by side, create a complex picture, not entirely black and white, not easy to conclude right or wrong. This makes me realize that in life, especially in highly competitive environments like professional sports, the line between accidental and intentional can be very thin. A small decision, a seemingly insignificant choice, can lead to major consequences that even the person involved may not anticipate.
I also paid special attention to how head coach Rassie Erasmus handled the situation. He neither avoided the issue nor rushed to defend or condemn his player. Instead, he chose to prioritize the long-term benefit and mental stability of the athlete. Not including Ntlabakanye in the lineup, even though he was technically allowed to, was a humane decision. It shows that in sports, winning is not everything. Sometimes, protecting a person from public pressure is more important than having a strong player on the field. This makes me wonder, in my own life, have I ever put myself in situations where external pressure made me lose the clarity needed to make sound decisions? And if I were in a similar situation, would I have the courage to pause, to address the root problem, instead of trying to keep playing while my mind is in turmoil? Another aspect that prompts reflection is how the doping control system operates. The hearing was delayed due to logistical issues and the absence of experts, prolonging the athlete's state of uncertainty. This raises a major question about fairness. Does extending the waiting time unintentionally become a form of punishment before an official verdict is reached? When an athlete is still allowed to compete, but their reputation is under suspicion, they live under immense psychological pressure. This is a kind of invisible suspended sentence, unofficial, yet deeply impactful on both career and personal life.
From a personal perspective, I realize that justice lies not only in the final outcome, but also in the process. A fair system must not only deliver the right verdict, but also ensure that the path to that verdict does not cause unnecessary harm to those involved. This applies not only in sports, but in every aspect of society. Ntlabakanye's story also makes me think about the concept of intent. In sports, especially under anti-doping regulations, the principle of strict liability is often applied, meaning athletes are responsible for any substance found in their bodies, regardless of intent. This principle protects fairness but also sets a very high standard of caution. It forces athletes to fully understand everything they consume, from supplements to medications. This brings me to an important lesson. In life, there are areas where I didn't know cannot serve as an excuse. There are responsibilities that each person must proactively understand and control. Lack of knowledge, even unintentional, can still lead to serious consequences. However, I also cannot ignore the human element in this story. Erasmus's remarks suggest that he believes Ntlabakanye did not intentionally do wrong. That belief is not blind protection, but understanding built over time. It reminds me that in any community, from a sports team to society at large, trust between people is a vital value. But that trust must go hand in hand with responsibility and transparency.
For fans, this is also a lesson worth reflecting on. In the age of social media, information spreads rapidly, and judgments are often made before all facts are known. A player can be convicted in the eyes of the public after just a headline. This not only harms the individual, but also erodes the principle of fairness that sports strive to uphold. I believe fans need to learn to be more patient, more thoughtful, and more fair. Instead of rushing to judgment, we can choose to wait for official conclusions. Listen to multiple perspectives, and maintain a neutral stance. This does not mean ignoring wrongdoing, but ensuring that all judgments are based on facts, not fleeting emotions. On a broader level, this story reflects a systemic issue, performance pressure in sports and how it can lead to risky decisions. When winning becomes the ultimate goal, when careers and reputations depend on every match, athletes may be drawn into choices they do not fully control. This places responsibility not only on individuals, but also on organizations, coaches, and governing systems. A healthy sports environment requires not only strict regulations, but also proper education, support, and guidance. Athletes need to be equipped with full knowledge about doping, its risks, and prevention. At the same time, they need psychological support to handle pressure without resorting to dangerous solutions. Reflecting more deeply, I realize that this story is not just about sports. It mirrors many aspects of modern life. The pressure to succeed, the ambiguity between right and wrong, the role of systems, and personal responsibility. In any field, we may face similar situations, where a small decision leads to major consequences, where truth is unclear, and where we must confront external judgment.
The greatest lesson I take for myself is caution and integrity. Caution in every choice, every action, no matter how small. Integrity with oneself, with others, and with the values one pursues. At the same time, I learn the importance of patience and fairness when judging others. No one is perfect, and everyone can make mistakes. What matters is how we face those mistakes. If I put myself in Ntlabakanye's position, I think the hardest part is not the punishment, if any, but the waiting and the uncertainty. It is the period when everything is suspended, career, reputation, and the trust of fans. And it is precisely during that time that a person's true character is revealed. From the community's perspective, I believe each story like this is an opportunity to reflect on how we respond to complex issues. Instead of seeking simple answers to difficult questions, we can accept complexity, listen to different viewpoints, and maintain an open mind. Finally, regardless of the upcoming verdict, the story of Asenathi Ntlabakanye will leave behind valuable lessons. It reminds us that sports are not just numbers on a scoreboard, but stories about people, with all their strength, weakness, mistakes, and efforts to overcome. And it is these stories that make sports meaningful, not only for those involved, but for all of us.
Scrum Masters Elite _UK says goodbye. Remember, fairness takes time, and decisions require clarity. Subscribe to reflect and grow together.